What is good, NIO family? It's Rey-Jay back with another video, and in this one I'm going to be talking about the one and only NIO stock, what you should be looking after for the future. I'm also going to do some in-depth technical analysis and give you guys my price prediction for tomorrow based off the charts are showing and based off the data is suggesting. I'm also going to talk about the overall market and how this may affect NIO and some very important things you need to know about tomorrow because I do anticipate quite a bit of volatility, but I do believe that we may have a sell-off as the day goes on. Before I break anything down, before I get into any more details, I do have to mention a couple of things before starting. Firstly, I'm not a financial planner. Take none of this as financial advice whatsoever. And also, if you guys can, please smash the like button if you want to see more videos like this. It not only benefits me, but benefits the entire NIO community as a whole. The last things, if you guys can, please check out the Webull link down below and in the description. If you sign up for Webull, the link down below, and deposit any amount of money into the account, you're guaranteed up to 12 free stocks, each worth up to $2,000. The best part is any could be a free NIO share, a free Tesla share, or a free Apple share, or a mix of all of them. It's a limited time offer. The offer ends in just 1 week. Check it out before they run out. With that out of the way, let's get on with the video. So anyways, guys, looking at NIO, this thing is not looking that great. We did actually have a big drop into the open as Tesla did come down very hard, but then NIO got a nice bounce off this 9.67 level. We started pushing up, and we managed to close above that $10 mark. However, what's significant about this is the fact that, look, $10 this time, or 9.93 to $10 is not holding us up, which means that NIO is likely going to make new lows from the past few weeks pretty soon. Now I know you guys don't like to hear this, but it is likely going to happen, and we are likely going to see NIO go for this gap fill all the way down to this 9.2 to 9.3 level, 9.28 around there. I do believe NIO is going to come down because you guys can see this whole thing is looking like a distribution pattern as this thing is slowly starting to stair step its way down like this. It's slowly coming down. It's not looking strong. Now, before this thing comes down, though, I do believe this thing is going to pop a bit before we see another big rejection. Now, why is NIO dropping the way it is? Well, it has to do with the overall market. Do not forget about the fact that the market does affect how NIO moves. You guys can see right here. If you look at SPY, this thing is starting to slow down and show some weakness. NIO is not showing the same strength as before compared to last week and so on and so forth. You guys can see there's a lot of volume around this 9.7 level. So we do see some buyers come in, and this is going to be a key zone for NIO. If we look at UBS and some banks out there, they're bearish on NIO short term. However, on Tuesdays, NIO is green about 55% of the time. I'm not as confident about us closing green again. It should be a pretty flat close, maybe somewhat red. I'm going to talk about that in a little bit more details. Now, even though Novembers tend to be more bullish months for the markets, unfortunately, it's going to depend on context. And right now, the context is not in our favors. Looking at the short interest, NIO's short interest was downtrending, but I do believe we're going to see a small spike in it relatively soon as shorts are starting to pile in. I say this because the short volume percentage did spike right here. This is a sign that they're coming in, sellers are getting the edge over the stock, and that's part of why NIO is dropping the way it is. On top of that, it's worth noting that NIO's volume, the overall volume isn't great. It's now dropping to about 52 million. So we're not seeing the same amount of buying pressure as we saw from before. Now, despite all these things happening to the stock, I just wanted to note I'm still very bullish. I'm still very, very excited, guys. I believe that NIO is going to make some great moves in the future, and that's because of the fact that they are reinventing the car industry. They're actually working in production means they're becoming more and more efficient. And on top of that, we're seeing their software updates that are actually helping them keep up with the race to actually improve this industry. So their cars are essentially robots that are working very hard on these innovations, not to mention strong deliveries and other big factors out there. So I'm still very bullish long term. But for the short term, guys, I do anticipate some downside. If we look at SPY real quick, I wanted to note something important. This thing, obviously, it was pushing up pretty hard, and since then it actually formed kind of like a mini bull flag like formation, got a nice push up, and then since then it's been dropping now. It's starting to respect the downtrend. What's interesting is the first fib level is that 0.236, so it is likely we're going to retest this zone if we do break below that 390 level. I do believe SPY is going to retest 390 very soon, and if we break below it, which is very possible, I wouldn't be surprised if we actually retest, and touch 388. So because SPY is coming down, it's worth noting that the whole market may follow this trend. If you look at the QQQ, this thing's down over 1%. I mean, look at this big downtrend on it. It's still being respected. We are going to likely retest this 280 to 279 zone. I do believe that we're going to see that on QQQ, and this will cause a lot of tech stocks to come down. On top of that, Apple's starting to come down, but the big picture, the big dog that everyone's watching is Tesla. Tesla is showing lots of weakness, guys. Unfortunately, it did not hold this demand zone around this 180 to 176 level and is likely going to continue to drop. Now, it could get a bounce here, maybe a small one, but overall, there's not a whole ton of support right here. We are likely going to see this thing hit the 150s, in my opinion. And if that's the case, I mean, a lot of these EV stocks are going to kind of follow it, and that's going to hurt NIO too. So what I'm seeing for NIO is, I believe NIO is going to get another pop because of this pattern. Let me just show you this pattern. There's a pattern where NIO has been just stair stepping its way down. I don't know if it goes far. Okay, anyways, NIO basically has a gap down, then it pushes up, then it comes down, we gap down, we push up, we have another gap down, then we push up to fill the gap, we come down, push up, gap down, we're starting to push up. We do have the potential to push up a little bit, maybe fill this gap, and then continue with the downside. Remember, $10 did not hold for NIO, so the next major support zone I'm watching, well, first off, we have about 9.7. I wanted to note this very carefully. Previous support around 9.93 to about 10 is not holding us too perfectly, so next support zone to watch is like that 9.67 to 9.7 level, so just about right here, which is where we bounced today. Now, if NIO breaks, we end up, let's just say we push up tomorrow, which I think we likely will, then we might get a rejection off about 10.5, 10.6 around there. Then we're likely going to start bleeding as the day goes on, in my opinion. I wouldn't be surprised if NIO comes all the way back down to this like 9.67 level, maybe balances and closes kind of flat. And I think that's likely to happen, but I do anticipate more volatility because of the overall market. If the market ends up tanking, that's very possible too, right? That could actually make NIO even more bearish, especially because of Tesla. And in my opinion, like I mentioned, we have that big gap around this 9.28 level. It's very likely we are eventually going to fill the gap. I don't know if it's going to happen tomorrow, but it's very possible for it to either happen tomorrow or the day after. So please be ready. It's going to depend on the market too. But I do believe it's very likely we come down to actually fill it. So overall, guys, it's looking more bearish than bullish. The trend is still on a downtrend. I wanted to note that just because we got a small bounce, it does not mean that we are ready to make a big move yet. Looking at the overall technical indicators and the setup on NIO, I wanted to note some very important things. If we look at the overall MACD and RSI, just keeping it nice and simple, we are still seeing the RSI being correlated with the price action. Once again, looking bearish. MACD got another crossover on the daily chart, not the daily, the 4-hour chart, and it's starting to actually show bearish momentum. Right here on the daily, check this out. RSI is coming down. MACD is about to cross over, looking more bearish than bullish. So we're seeing more bearish signals. Unfortunately, I do believe NIO is going to come down. We should get a pop tomorrow, followed by a sell-off as the day goes on. So please watch. First off, you got to watch that $10 support zone, which is probably not going to hold us too well. Watch 9.67 to 9.7, followed by 9.28, where that gap area is. Well, anyways, guys, that's basically what I have for this one. Thank you all so much for listening. Have a great rest of the day and do what you have to do and amidst everything that's going on. Thank you and peace out.